Hi, this is Lisa from Endorphina Creative and welcome to my stressless class of the week. Today we're going to explore the topic of setting healthy personal boundaries. For some of the exercises in this class, you may need a few sheets of paper or a notebook or a journal with a writing pen. If you have colored pens available, you're most welcome to use those as well. Today I will guide you through a few different exercises, including a boundary assessment where we will reflect on the state of your current boundaries, as well as an evening and morning ritual at the end. Before we get started with our first exercise, it would be good to define and identify what boundaries are. Quite often we don't really pay much attention to our personal boundaries until they are overstepped or violated. Think of your personal boundaries like the outer fence of your inner safe space. Your physical safety, your emotional safety, your mental safety, and in some cases, even your spiritual safety. Healthy boundaries ensure that we feel good, that we feel protected and whole, and that our body and energy system are working as they're designed to work, keeping our physical and emotional processes in perfect balance and keeping us healthy. With our physical body, our skin can be seen as a physical boundary line. If something pierces your skin, you will usually have your pain receptors respond and send a message to the brain that the skin boundary has been breached, and we feel, as a result, most likely a little bit of pain. If the scratch is very small, we might not even bleed, or if we bleed, the wound will be sealed over within a day or two, as our body has amazing healing capabilities. However, if our wound happens to be very big, for example, if somebody has been in a car accident, they may have to go to hospital where the body is helped to restore itself. Physical wounds are only an example of a boundary breach on the physical level. Physical boundary violations can also occur when someone touches you in a rough way or touches you when you don't want to be touched. And for women, one of the worst boundary oversteps are sexual abuse, and that is not only an experience that would violate your physical boundaries, but also your emotional consent and your emotional boundaries. Traumatic experiences like physical or sexual abuse take a long time to heal and often leave victims with emotional scars and imprints of shame or guilt. And if you are currently experiencing any sort of physical or sexual abuse or harassment, please call 000 or contact the student counseling services or after our crisis support line. While the trespassing of our physical boundaries is fairly easy to identify, it is much harder to recognize an emotional boundary overstep. Emotional boundary trespassing can start from the moment somebody yells at you and dumps their anger onto you, or somebody can also dump their grave stress, anxiety, or fears onto you, which usually elicits from us a feeling of empathy and compassion. But for somebody with weak emotional boundaries, they may feel that they are emotionally affected by the intensity of the emotions of the other. And if that ever happened to you, you can be sure that your emotional boundaries have been trespassed. And you will often notice it because it simply doesn't feel good. When we look at mental boundaries, the trespassing of mental boundaries can be linked to receiving insults, judgments, to being bullied verbally, to being belittled, humiliated, made fun of, or ridiculed. It also happens when somebody guilt trips you or forces their beliefs or perceptions onto you. For example, telling you that you won't succeed, that you're not good enough or smart enough, or that you're not beautiful. Negative comments like that can impact our mental health pretty strongly, especially when we have received similar comments like that in our childhood or during early schooling. Spiritual boundaries are in many ways related to mental and emotional boundaries and often apply if somebody, for example, a parent, forces their spiritual or religious belief systems on you or shames you for not being religious or spiritual enough. To create better self-awareness about your personal situation, it is helpful to go through an assessment of your life and your relationship topics, which we will do as our first exercise. It is not to be underestimated how much weak personal boundaries actually impact your stress levels. For most people, the highest stress is not coming from their work environment, but from conflict in their personal relationships. And of course, if you're working in a high-speed work environment that is very demanding, it will certainly contribute to your stress levels. But our childhood imprints are often related to these underlying negative self-sabotaging beliefs like I'm not good enough or I don't deserve things to go well for me. And this has so much emotional energy around it that it often finds much more dynamite in our personal relationships. So let's have a look at our physical boundaries first. We will start with your life as it is right now. You can take out your pen and paper to take some notes if you would like, just to kind of create an assessment for yourself, or you can note down any points that you might want to remember and reflect on later. Looking at your life as it is right now, is there anybody in your life who violates your physical boundaries? And with that, I don't just mean violence or physical harm. I also mean individuals who touch you, but they don't touch you gently enough. This includes individuals who hug you when you don't want to be hugged, who kiss you when you don't want to be kissed, or people who stand too close when you talk to them. Reflecting on our touch relationships with other people can be a very sensitive topic for some, but in order to establish healthy physical boundaries, we need to have physical sanctity, physical safety, physical well-being. So if there are any individuals in your life who do not cooperate with your physical boundaries because they're either ignorant or just really stuck in their habits, write down the type of boundary violations that you have experienced and reflect what your preferred alternative of that behavior is. For example, if somebody that you don't like, let's say it's a relative, an aunt perhaps, keeps hugging you, but you don't want to be hugged by that person, your preferred alternative would be no physical contact, or you may only want to shake her hand. When we are communicating our boundaries with others, it is often helpful to offer an alternative or declare your preference. So to that relative, that aunt that wants to hug you but you don't want to be hugged, you could say, let's shake hands instead. I don't feel like hugging today. So you have set the boundary this way. Or you can say that you are not comfortable with hugging people at the moment. And hopefully this person would accept this alternative. Now, if someone does not accept your communication, then you will need to find other ways of enforcing your boundaries. In the example of a hugging aunt or relative, you could keep your hands in front of your chest or to signalize with your body language that you're not opening your arms or your heart area to that person, or you could leave the family gathering early without saying goodbye to that particular person. Now, many of us refrain from enforcing our personal boundaries because of social customs, social etiquette, and because we will be seen as bad individuals in the eyes of others. If that applies to you, you may have to have a good think about what is more important to you, that you are feeling good or that other people are feeling good. And if your answer is that other people are feeling good, you may have your priorities completely out of whack. Feeling good is an essential part for any healing journey, for any journey through managing your emotional stress better. Feeling good is the number one key ingredient that we have to consider, and that includes our physical well-being. That we follow what feels good to us, that we accept what feels good to us on a physical level, and that we do not accept what does not feel good to us. And prioritizing our own well-being doesn't mean that we are selfish or that we are self-absorbed or that we are unkind. It simply means that we are honoring ourselves, that we are respecting ourselves, and that we understand that we are responsible for our own energy levels and for our own happiness. And the same applies to other people. And as I mentioned before, feeling good starts feeling good in our bodies and feeling good with our physical interactions with other people. And in general, you do not really need to give a reason for why you're setting your boundary, but the way you communicate your boundary is, of course, important. Ideally, we want to communicate our boundaries in a polite way, in a respectful way, but there are, of course, some instances when the other person is completely unresponsive to our polite communication that we have to be a little bit more assertive. And this also applies to dating and intimate relationships. If you do not want to engage in a romantic or sexual interaction with a person you may have just met at a party, a simple and clear no is hopefully enough to express your lack of consent, and it definitely should be enough. One of the biggest problems with alcohol consumption is that it can make you neglect or ignore your personal boundaries. So if you're someone who likes to party and drink, make sure that you're not getting yourself into situations that could have negative implications for you on a physical or emotional level. And of course, it is always important to remember that while you have the right to set your own personal boundaries, that you don't have the right to violate somebody else's personal boundaries. For example, if you are a hugger, you may ask someone if you can give them a hug before hugging them to get consent. This also applies in long-term relationships in which both partners have become so accustomed to each other and to touching each other that sometimes they do not properly observe the other person's preferences. So in some situations, it might not be beneficial for you to touch your partner or vice versa. There you most likely wouldn't ask for consent, but reading the body language of one another becomes really important. Men and women in general have a very different perception about what constitutes gentle touch. So the majority of men may in their mind touch their female partner with respect and with softness. However, the female, as the receiver of touch, for her it doesn't feel gentle enough. So it may be very helpful to find non-critical ways of communicating your preferred gentleness of touch to your partner. When we look at small children or animals, our pets, especially cats, they demonstrate their touch preferences very clearly. If they don't like to be touched, they will show it. And if they want to be touched, they will show it also and give instant feedback about if they value how they're being touched, if they like the way that they're being touched. So that is something valuable to take on board, because most often we have stopped thinking about our own personal preferences because of the social conditioning we have received and learned throughout our childhood. So it is really beneficial to reflect on your personal preferences. And if you belong to the many, many people who have experienced touch violations in their childhood, know that you're not alone. and that opening ourselves up to receiving consensual, gentle touch can be relearned. Some individuals might also have had the opposite experience and may have lacked touch in their childhood, which might have either created discomfort with being touched or a never-ending craving for cuddling, hugging, or intimacy. And this happens when a personal boundary has been neglected. But let's return to boundary violations, and we will continue with emotional boundaries. Reflect on your emotional exchanges with the people in your life. Is there anyone who yells at you, who blames you, or who shames you? This can be partners, parents, friends, co-workers, or anybody else that you can think of. And if you have anybody like this in your life, write down their names and what their behavior is. Is there anybody in your life who dumps their emotional baggage on you? This could be a friend with high anxiety levels. Or perhaps you're even somebody who likes to offload your anger or stress onto other people. And if you are, you may need to find other ways of regulating your emotions because you're potentially violating the emotional boundaries of others. Generally, anger and aggression are one of the most common boundary violations where emotions get transferred in an unhealthy way. And unless the receiver of an anger outburst has incredibly strong personal boundaries, this anger energy will have an impact on them and cause emotional stress in the recipient. With anger, it is kind of like a vicious cycle. Anger always is a sign of stress. So when somebody does get angry, you know for sure that they are under stress, but then they offload their stress onto somebody else, and the person who receives the stress will most likely be triggered and will feel emotional discomfort. And once you have received so much stress, it's actually very hard to clear that out of your energy system if your boundaries have been weak. And it will deplete your energy reservoirs in a big way. Learning how to be honored in relationships and learning how to witness somebody in anger is one of the most valuable skill sets around. And that will be helpful in the workplace if somebody has an angry boss or angry coworker or an angry parent. So finding ways how to manage anger for yourself, but also other people's anger is such a big topic that I see again and again with my clients, and especially for women who have been taught to repress anger, who are only allowed to express their anger through tears. Proper anger management and getting actually in touch with your anger and the reasons for any repressed anger is such an important part of healing. Becoming more aware of our emotional energy exchanges can be such a great asset to stress management. Communicating our emotional boundaries is important in order to resolve any interpersonal conflict. And quite often, other people are not even aware that they are overstepping our personal boundaries because they are usually in a high stress state. While it is not very helpful to tell somebody who is angry to calm down, you can choose to leave a heated argument and create some space until the other person has calmed down instead of receiving all of their angry dumping. And if you have a friend who might call you to offload another round of complaints, you could tell them that it's not a good time right now and ask them to call back in an hour. Or if this is a repeat pattern, you might also choose to leave the friendship or partnership. Many people make constantly excuses and allowances for other people's behavior, which is fine, but they often don't give the same respect and leeway to themselves. So write down any regular patterns of emotional boundary breaches and also write down with which person this occurs on a regular basis. And then see if you can come up with ways of how you can assert your boundary in a respectful way. For example, if your boss or your teacher constantly yells at you, you could potentially ask them to treat you in a more respectful and more polite way, or you can also make a formal complaint. If your parent or your partner should yell at you, you could tell them that you do not wish to talk to them until they have calmed down. Or if you have a friend who likes to gossip viciously about other friends behind their back, then you could just tell them that you do not wish to respect either one of the friendships. So whatever you've written down, whatever examples you have in your own life where you feel like your personal boundaries are violated or not respected, write down some alternative ways of responding to these situations in a way that your boundaries and personal preferences are honored. And sometimes we have to really think outside the box because we are so used in not asserting our own boundaries. And when I say assert our own boundaries, that does not mean that we have to be aggressive or disrespectful to the other person, but it means to redirect any attack on our personal boundaries in the politest way possible. And sometimes politeness is not possible or not any more warranted when the other person disrespects our boundaries in a very big way. Allowing other people to be in their emotional states without being affected by them is something that gets a little bit easier with age, with experience of life, and it also correlates with the level of personal growth and development we have achieved. So if you're easily triggered by other people and get stressed by the first signs of disharmony, or if you keep attracting dysfunctional relationships, it would be beneficial to engage in some sort of healing work, as most of our stress triggers and relationship patterns are rooted in our childhood experience with our primary caregivers. And now we are moving on to mental boundary breaches, reflecting on the people in our lives who are currently the source of insults, judgments, and disrespectful language. And most people are using their language rather carelessly and are often intentionally or inadvertently hurting somebody's feelings. And while everyone has the right to express their personal opinions and viewpoints, we have free speech, it is crucial to maintain the etiquette of respect, which can be easily done by emphasizing your own viewpoint. So there's a big difference between saying to somebody, "You are mean," or saying to someone, "I feel like you hurt me intentionally." Or to say to somebody, "From my perspective, your behavior was mean." Mental boundary breaches are evident if somebody's comments target you directly, and you would experience this as being criticized, blamed, held responsible, or accused. Especially in our early childhood, a passing negative comment can become the number one stress trigger for a child whose very absorbent brain and nervous system stores the information of, for example, "I'm not good enough," "I'm too loud," or "I am bad." And this pattern, this programming, remains well into adulthood. And while these negative imprints can, of course, be reversed and reprogrammed if we engage in healing work and personal development, it is valuable to assess our present-day situation and reflect on our habits of communication. What kind of words we are receiving on a daily basis and what kind of words we are giving out. And you can write down your insights onto your notepad, journal, a sheet of paper, and think about responses you can use to protect your own boundaries. For example, if somebody insults you by using a derogative term, It is much better to say, I disagree, than taking this insult into your energy field and into your subconscious mind. If somebody accuses you of something, it is better to inquire why you're being accused than taking the verbal assault lying down. So redirection and asking clarifying questions can be good ways of protecting your boundaries. Only once you have established true healthy boundaries, you can detach from another person's comments or accusations and practice active listening, which will help you to realize that whatever was said to you wasn't really about you at all to begin with. This is where the phenomenon of projection comes in, as we usually see characteristics or weaknesses and faults in others that we often have within ourselves, or that are qualities that we were not allowed to develop. For example, if we are accusing somebody of being incompetent, we either feel incompetent ourselves deep down, or we were never able to be incompetent because we had to excel to an inhuman degree of perfectionism. So projection kind of works both ways. It is either a complete match or it is the opposite. And whenever somebody projects something onto you, projects their own flaws or their own opposite of whatever they are complaining about in you, then know that it is about them and never about you. And the same way, it is always about you when you perceive negativity in somebody else, and it is never about them. So learning about projection and understanding that self-inquiry here really is the best way of dissecting the reasons for our emotional stress triggers, especially when they are related to other people's shortcomings. Nobody is perfect, and the earlier we also understand that our own need to be perfect and invincible is actually one of the biggest stress origins or stress creators for us in our lives, the better. The earlier we recognize this, the better. So this will make it much easier for you to let yourself off the hook and also discharge any negative comments you have received about yourself, your character, or your performance, and return to just being you. And then it is in your hands whether you want to cultivate and further your potential, or whether you're just happy with the simple things of life. And those are decisions that everybody has to make for themselves. To establish healthy boundaries in general, but also when we're talking about mental boundaries, means releasing negative beliefs that sabotage our worth and our dignity. And releasing these self-sabotaging beliefs is actually quite crucial for attaining true happiness. And being more mindful of the choice of language we receive and give out will really help us with our levels of self-awareness. If you're criticizing others, know that you are trespassing on their boundaries. Instead, try to suggest the improvement you want. Instead of criticizing someone's work, make suggestions of what could be achieved or improved in the future. If somebody criticizes you, ask for what outcome is desired by that person and test whether it is reasonably possible for you to achieve it. And if it is not possible for you to achieve it, ask for help or ask for an alternative solution. So the more solution-focused we are, the easier it will be to deal with criticism and to take the power away from our inner critic that could potentially sabotage us to such a degree that we feel completely overwhelmed and powerless with the workload that's ahead of us, or with our present circumstances or life situations. And these feelings of powerlessness will only increase the more demanding the challenges are that we go through as a collective, as a society. We had the pandemics in the last few years. Here in Lismore, we had floods, and in New South Wales at the moment there are a lot of floods happening, natural disasters. So the external conditions for mental health are not ideal, and the situations in the last few years have certainly highlighted that we need to practice better stress management techniques, practices, and that we also have to reduce our stress triggers. And there are many amazing ways of how that can be done. Now, I won't go deeply into spiritual boundaries here, but the same principles apply. Only you know what is right for you and what resonates with you, and only others know what is right for them in terms of their spiritual beliefs and what resonates with them. Respect really is the key element here when talking about healthy boundaries, and setting healthy boundaries is a sign of self-respect. And in the second half of our class, we will practice how we can set healthier boundaries with some exercises. And the first essential ingredient for setting healthier boundaries is to explore the quality of your yes and the quality of your no. So this is a very, very short self-reflection exercise, and all you need to do is to say out loud yes and to say out loud no, and notice the difference. Usually yes feels good and opens us up, and no doesn't feel so good and contracts us. Try it out now. So say out loud, yes, 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 yes. And if you haven't said it along with me yet, say it along with me now. Yes, 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 yes. And just notice how your body feels when you say that. Yes, 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 yes. And now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to say no, 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 and feel the difference. Try it again. Yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. Yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. And it is really, really important to learn about your body feedback or your emotional feedback when it comes to making decisions, when it comes to figuring out whether you should go to a date with this particular person, or whether you should go to a party, or whether you should study or should take time off studying. All of these many decisions that we face in our lives, some of you may have already quite a well-developed intuition and a great gut instinct, and those of you will know that you know what's right for you, it intrinsically feels right. But for many other people, they often have difficulties to discern which is the right choice, which choice feels good, and which choice doesn't feel so good. And if you are presently faced with any choices you're not sure about, you can think of this particular choice or that particular person, that particular option, and say to that person or option or choice, yes, 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 and no, 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 no. And then sense what relaxes you more. For example, let's say we are trying to figure out if relaxation practice is good for us. So you just envision whatever relaxation practice means to you. It can be meditating, it can be going for a walk, it can be having a massage or pampering or sitting on the veranda or on the beach with a book, whatever it is for you, just picture what that would look like, and then say to whatever you're picturing, yes, 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 no, no, no. And I might have a guess here that for most of you, the relaxation practice will get an affirmative yes. Your body most likely will respond positively to that. So it becomes a little bit more complicated when we are faced with responsibilities that we don't really want to do. So that's a much more complex topic. But for example, think of something that you don't want. This could be a behavior of somebody in your life that you do not like, or that the attitude of somebody towards you that you do not like. And just picture that in front of you and try it again, saying yes, yes, yes to this, or no, no, no to it. And most likely you will feel more relaxed saying no than saying yes to something that you don't want. So try it out with your decisions, life experiences on a daily basis. If you are faced with multiple options, practice your yes, 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 and no, no, no. And just test and see what your body is doing, if there is any difference. And now we are going to explore your boundary setting evening ritual. 3 different things that you can include in your evening ritual that might help you setting better boundaries. And then we're also going to look at our morning ritual, some ways of how you can start the day already prepared with better boundaries before you even get started and interact with other people. So for our first part of the evening ritual, our evening ritual usually is about discharging stress from the day, clearing stress from the day, anything that got past your personal boundaries, any kind of negative incidents that you had, or any kind of stress trigger that you have experienced, to clear out other people's negativity and also to calm any upset within yourself. And one exercise which is really, really easy to do is what I call an emotional detox drawing. Some of you may have already participated in one of those in one of my previous classes, but if you haven't, it is very, very simple. What you need is a sheet of paper. It doesn't matter if it's a blank paper or if it has lines on it. Could be a page from your journal, ideally one that can be ripped out, or it could be just a little part of your notepad or the back of an old bill. And whatever page you have in front of you, you just use a normal writing pen, or you can of course use colored pens as well if you like. But this is a short exercise that will help us to use drawing as an expressive tool for stress release. And what you do, and we're going to do this now, is you're going to divide your sheet of paper that you have in 3 equal parts. It doesn't matter if it's vertical or horizontal. It should be 3 different drawing areas. So divide it up now, or you can also take 3 different pages if that is easier for you. And this drawing exercise consists of 3 parts. So we're starting with the first drawing area. You can pick whichever one you want. It does not matter at all. There is no particular order here that you have to consider. So simply take your pen, and we are going to doodle or express with lines, shape, whatever you want, any emotional stress that you have experienced today or in the last week. And this exercise is not about drawing anything that is beautiful or even in a particular shape. You are just using your pen as a way of expression. Circles, lines, doodles, anything you want. And if you have any intense emotions, you will notice that your pen will be applied a little bit harder, that it will be a bit more intense, the drawing. So you can just do whatever you like in this first part. And again, this is for expression. This is not about drawing anything that anybody has to recognize. So for 1 minute, simply express with your pen in this first drawing area whatever stress is in your body. So this is just detoxing. This is just expressing. And I will give you 1 minute for this. 1 minute for this now. And coming back, and just briefly close your eyes and just see how you're feeling. And then we will do the same again with the second part. And now basically start fresh with this detoxing, and again express any emotional stress that you have experienced in recent times. And again, I will give you 1 minute. So just really go for it. There are no rules here. Just draw in the second part. And make sure that you're emoting, that you're actually connecting to your emotions and expressing the content on this paper. This drawing is not a very pretty drawing. It may be very confronting or even ugly for what is coming out of your nervous system, your emotions, your emotional body. So yeah, I give you another minute to finish detox via drawing in this second drawing area. And now the 1 minute is up. And again, briefly close your eyes and see how you're feeling. See if you're feeling the same as before we started. And now we're going to do this one last time. Again, starting fresh, focusing on anything that may have stressed you recently, today, yesterday, any conflict in personal relationships, any work stress or study load, or any incidences that occurred that stressed you out. And once again, you have 1 minute for this last drawing area. Just let it all out. And your 1 minute is up. And just close your eyes and take a calming breath, breathing in, breathing out, and just sensing how you're feeling. How are your stress levels? Now, for most people I work with, this is quite beneficial. They feel much less stressed after this exercise than they have been before. And if that is the case for you, you may want to include this in your evening ritual at the end of your day. It doesn't need to take long. You can also do it shorter than a minute. It can only be half a minute for each of these parts. But if it helps you, if you feel more relaxed afterwards, please do it on a regular basis. It is such a simple exercise where you can get all of your intense emotions on paper, especially things like anger and aggression and grief, or anything like that, blame, that are socially not really accepted and that are also harmful to other people. That's a very, very safe way and a very simple way on how to express that. And then in the evening, as your evening ritual, you could follow up this exercise with a white light clearing exercise. Simply imagine above your head a white light, shining into your skull, clearing any density and heaviness in your skull, any brain fog, any confusion, any anxiety, any beliefs, anything that is of a lower density inside of your head, any fast monkey mind. Just let it flood through this white light, clearing out your throat, clearing out your entire rib cage. So really imagine it, a blinding white light inside of your rib cage and your throat, washing, purifying through your stomach area, which has a lot of emotional components to it, a lot of nerves going in the stomach area, your emotional center. Just shining this white light through there, purifying any heaviness or density, any anxiety or nervousness. And move the white light to your other organs in your body, and for most people also to the lower back. The lower back always takes a lot of stress. Just shine the white light along your spine, into your hips, clearing out any dense energy in your hips, any tension, and your thighs, shining this white light into your thigh muscles and your bones, your thigh bones, and also shine the white light between your legs where your root chakra is, which is responsible for our stress responses as well, the fight or flight response. So really clear out any density or any tension or heaviness from that area. And this is also the seat of shame for many people. So if you experience any shame, even thinking about your genital areas or visualizing this white light clearing your genital areas, wipe this shame away as well. Our body is all natural. Sexuality is natural. There is nothing to be ashamed about. Yeah, and then just shine the white light into your knees and into your calves, your ankles and your feet, making contact with the ground. And then the third part of our evening ritual could be breathing in from the earth, grounding yourself. So just breathe energy upwards from the earth, which will be very calming. So breathing in from the earth and breathing back down into the earth. And again, breathing in from the earth and breathing back out the earth. And because we are also looking at our personal boundaries, we are going to continue breathing in from the earth, but every time we are breathing out, we are going to combine this with hands movements. So to describe that well to you, bring your hands up to your chest and have your palms face in front of you. So as if you're pushing something away from your chest area. You know, like you're playing volleyball. That's sort of a hand posture. But have it in front of your chest. And we're going to breathe in energy from the earth. And then with our out breath, we are going to breathe out forward and push our hands forward as well with the out breath until our arms are completely stretched out. So we are pushing any intrusions from our energy system outwards with our out breath. And I will guide you through this now. So breathe in from the earth and breathe out, pushing your arms forward, pushing away anything from your field. Breathing out while you're doing that. Okay. And bring your hands back to your chest in the same posture. We do that again. Breathing in from the earth and breathing out forward, pushing your hands forward. Great. And bring your hands back to your chest. And we will do this again, but this time we will go into the diagonal. So your right hand would push outwards towards the not completely right side, but the area between the front and the right. So diagonal outwards to the front. And your left hand, your left arm will do this on your left side. So it's like doing a wide push-up forward. Okay, so we're breathing in from the earth. Breathe in. And then breathe out, pushing away on each side, forward diagonal, doing an imaginary push-up. Okay, bringing your hands back to your chest. Do it one more time. And breathing in from the earth. And breathing out, pushing outwards like a push-up, pushing anything out of your field. Great. And bring your energy, your hands back to your chest. And we are going to breathe in from the earth, and then we are going to push our right hand to the right side on a 90 degree and the left hand on the left side. So breathing in from the earth, and we're pushing outwards with our out breath in both directions so that your hands are completely protecting your right side and your left side. And again, bring it back to your chest, and again breathe in from the earth, and again push anything out to your right and to your left that is in your field with the out breath. And for our last part, just bring your hands back to your chest, and this time we are going to turn our hands, our palms towards our chest and lower our hands a bit as if we are holding something in our hand. So we just have our hands open in front of our chest, opened with our palms upwards as if we are holding something. So, and of course we will again breathe in from the earth, but with our out breath we are going to lift our hands over our shoulders, releasing anything that is in our field to the back, outwards the back with our out breath. Okay, so breathe in from the earth and breathe out, moving your hands over your shoulders, releasing, throwing anything over your shoulders that is in your system on your out breath. So in your chest, we do this again. So breathe in from the earth and throw anything over your shoulders that you don't need with your out breath. And one more time. Have your hands, palms faced up in front of your chest, and breathe in from the earth. Really breathe earth energy upwards. And then breathe out any density, throwing it over your shoulder with your out breath. And then let your hands rest alongside your body. Relax your shoulders and just close your eyes. Breathe normally, gently. And just notice how you're feeling. Notice how your energy field feels around you, to the front, to the right, to the left, and also behind you. So this is something that you can do in the evening when you want to de-stress from the day. And I summarize it for you. You can do the detox drawing. You can divide it into 3 times. For self-expression, for clearing out any strong emotions. And then you do a white light clearing to clear out any density from your body and to connect you to the sky above, to a higher vibrational energy. And then for the 3rd part, you're grounding yourself, you're breathing in from the earth and push things out of your energy field with your hands to the front, then the diagonal push up to the side, and then throwing things over the shoulder to the back. So if you feel that you have benefited from this practice, you can incorporate that in your evening ritual. Now, for the morning, when you're getting up, it is kind of important to re-establish your boundaries in a good way, to set intentions for your day. So this time we are starting with a breathing in from above. So you're breathing in white light energy from above. And with your out breath, just direct the white light energy into your energy field. So you can start breathing in from above and breathing out white light into the front of your field. So straight ahead. And you breathe in from above. And then you turn your head slightly to the right and breathe out diagonal to the right. And breathe in from above. And turn your head to the complete right. And breathe the white light energy into the right, to your right. And then we repeat it with the left. So we're breathing in white light energy from above. And breathing out to the diagonal left. And then breathing in from above again. Turning your head to the left and breathing out to the left of your field. So this is a great way of how to wake up your energy field in the morning. And then to create a protective barrier for you, sort of like a boundary. Imagine that you're drawing a green circle or a green dome around you with green energy, and wash your entire energy field in a 1.5 meter diameter around you with green energy. So see if your whole body, you can paint your whole body in green, or you can wash your whole body with the color green as a green light. And then you can also, if you're good at visualizing, take yourself to a green place in nature, somewhere idyllic. It can be a fantasy place, it can be a real place, completely up to you. The main thing is that there should be a lot of green and that it should be peaceful and idyllic. This could be a meadow, a forest clearing, a rose garden, or anywhere else where you can imagine where it is green. So just connect with that place and just feel the color green radiating around you. And then before we return to the present moment, we are going to invite an animal guardian, a spirit animal, as the protector of our boundary for the day. And whatever animal shows up here, this could change from day to day. Just make sure that you energetically perceive this animal and that you're connecting with it and that you're communicating with this animal, that it will take care of your boundary during the day while you are going about your daily business. So just get this agreement from the animal that the animal will take care, and then you can return to your present moment, to your space. And if there is any specific situation that you have going on during the day ahead of you, then it is also really helpful to set an intention, to set a sort of a protective charm up for yourself during the day. Thank you for listening. I hope you have enjoyed this class. Until next time.